recording. All right, here we are. Thank you everyone for joining us for this recording of this amazing conversation. It's between
Kaliana, and Rama.
And Greer and Aaron. Kaliana and Rama. I've got it right. That's right. Cool.
Merged already.
All right.
I had a bit of hesitation. I've got it right. Awesome. Thank you guys for joining us today for this conversation. And yeah, so, you guys are coming down to Hobart, coming down to our great state of Tasmania, bringing your work down here. And we thought it'd be an amazing opportunity just to what you guys are about, why you do what you do, and just to get a feel of the energy you're bringing to our gorgeous city.
Oh,
That's lovely.
thank you.
What?
Lovely. That's what I was going to
Yeah.
So we're so excited we love Tasmania.
I love Tasmania. And we have some very dear friends who live on Bruny Island on Cloudy Bay, so we'll be visiting them when we complete with Hobart.
Nice.
And we want to thank Melanie Spears for inviting us. We met her in the most amazing way when we were putting out where were we meant to work in Australia to give us a sign from Spirit, and Rama bumped into her in a cafe and she was there going, I want to bring teachers to my church at Kempton. So it was a very auspicious meeting, and so that's why we're coming to Hobart.
Yeah, and for those who are watching who are thinking, Melanie Spears, I know that name. She's the author and creator of the Gratitude Diaries, so who we also met very auspiciously last year. So it's beautiful. She has a way of wielding her magic in the world. So thank you, Melanie.
And she's just birthed her latest diary.
Just gone to the printers.
Yes, just gone to the printers. Yeah.
Good.
And we want to thank both of you for being so welcoming of us and for the extra event we're adding for Hobart, which is a sound healing evening in Hobart, as well as the 6 events we're offering at the church at Kempton. So thank you so much.
Yeah,
We're so welcome.
Yeah. So tell us, I'd love to hear, you to share a bit about your story and how you came to be who you are today, because most people won't know anything about you. So
Okay.
You want to go first? Me. He wants me to go first. Okay. So I'm Kaliana, and I've been facilitating women's groups for many years when I was commissioned by Spirit. To do that, I was living in a women's initiation valley in Thora Valley, which is out of Ballingen in New South Wales, Australia. And Thora Valley is a very amazing women's initiation valley where the clever women were buried down the end. And I was woken up very deeply there. I'd come from Melbourne to live in New South Wales, and I was woken up very deeply to start vibrational healing through my son, working with my son who had acquired brain injuries in hospital. And I was doing rebirthing training at the time, and at the exact time of his accident, I burst into tears, and I just knew I was being asked to let go. I had a dream of him the night before. He was 11 at the time, and one of my 3 children at the time. But what he did for me is, on the way to the hospital, when Rama came to get me to take him to the hospital, not knowing if he'd be alive or not, I just opened up and I said that I would not hold back. And I would hold his light for him while he decided to live or not. And that I would not hold back on any gifts I had from this or any previous incarnation that may assist him. And it opened this door. I flew down by air ambulance with him. He was alive when I got there. I flew down by air ambulance to Sydney Children's Hospital. And the amazing thing was that it opened me up to a past incarnation where I'd been a teacher on the Pleiades of vibrational healing and flower essences. So all of a sudden, divas were tapping me on the shoulder and wanting to flow through me to Daniel. I started drawing patterns of energy that I'd lay on his body. And it kept, when they were reviewing him as part of when he became conscious again after 5 days, they couldn't believe, number one, how good his peripheral vision was. And that was the first drawing I'd done to lay on his body. And so he literally activated me to start doing all my essences. I came back. We were in hospital with him for 2 months and then came home, had a little baby because I was pregnant at the time. And all of a sudden I would start receiving. People came to me for sessions. I'd start receiving what flower essence they needed. I started drawing patterns, and that led to a whole range of vibrational healing. This is 30 years ago. So I have a whole series of codes and essences that led me to another series called DNA repatterning for the endocrine glands and hormones, and the Magdalene and Yeshua codes of the Christed feminine and masculine energy birthing through our planet at this time. And so when I talk of, for in our workshops, we use these codes, and they're to bring through helping us embody Christ consciousness within us, and that comes through our union. How do we birth things on our planet? Through male-female union. How do we birth ourselves? Through the inner marriage. So a lot of our work together, for me, I bring in the vibrational healing and songs, which we'll be sharing on our sound healing in Hobart and in Kempton. So at the same time, I was given a book to start drawing patterns for the endocrine system from an ascended being called Melchizedek. And he just turned up in a meditation and said, here's a book called The DNA Evolvement of Mankind, and I want you to draw patterns. He said, you've got to give back what we lost in Atlantis so we can reclaim our 12 chakra bodies again. So I started drawing patterns for the endocrine glands and hormones that is their true nature. And at the same time, I have part of my being from the star systems said that I needed to speak in the language of light. It was the language of the soul. And she said, I'll give you the mantras that formed the chakras, so that by singing them back, you're going to sing to the purity of that chakra, and it will start releasing any thought forms blocking it.
Wow.
And so I didn't realize that that went together with the endocrine, because light comes from source, flows through light filaments, DNA strands into a chakra. The chakra pulses it into endocrine gland, the hormones take it through the blood. So if you want to embody your light here, you need to have a functioning connection between your endocrine, your chakras, and the DNA. And that's what's happening on our planet. If you want to keep humanity enslaved, attack the endocrine, which is what's happening with the false hormones, what's in our water, vaccinations, all trying to shut down the pineal, the pituitary. So I've made many essences to support those energies to stay open. And that led us to Sacred Union. We met over 30 years ago. And
this lifetime.
We were brought together because we shared with you when we were talking the other day that we own that we're a twin flame couple. Not to say that everyone has to be in a twin flame relationship, but sometimes when you come together with a twin flame, it can be so intense because it's not less like I'm a soul partner and we've had lots of fun together. Twin flames, in a way, in the truest sense, remember the separation into a male-female body. And so when a twin flame couple meet, they're trying to find that union again, and they will mirror back to you anything preventing that union. So when you first get together in a twin flame relationship, it can be very intense. And we're here to say 30 years down the track, it's possible. You can come through this, and you can work together to bring heaven to earth through the union, working together as a couples if you choose that, but also the mirror that you give to each other in a twin flame relationship shows you what you need to heal on the inner level, so you can merge full chakra union with your inner masculine and feminine. And so not everyone has to be in a twin flame relationship. It may not be their soul contract. Even if it isn't, a twin flame, and there can be many expressions of it through incarnations, you are never separate because you are from the oneness. So even if you're not together, one in ancient times, one was in the body, one wasn't, because of old stories which happened at the fall of Atlantis, where one went into spirit and one stayed embodied incarnation after incarnation. But now's the time when many twin flames are embodying on the planet to support the birth of this new age that we've moved into since 2012. So in our relationship over many years, we've had to work through many, many issues to the point of peeling away all these layers till we found ourselves almost as this primal male-female energy circling each other, the feminine saying to the masculine, if I lay down my weapons or my protection, which is psychic protection with you, will you overpower me with your strength? And the masculine was saying, if I let down my defenses with you, my strength, will you overpower me with your psychic energy? We've had to just peel away so many layers to be prepared to hold space for our Sacred Union workshops. And we've found that in different countries, when we facilitated this in Poland, in Paris, in different countries, that when the forgiveness was so deep, particularly in Poland, they were bringing in such issues as you can imagine in Warsaw. They were bringing in to heal rape, they were bringing in to heal, you know, being taken over, disenfranchised so much in their culture. And the forgiveness was so deep, which we do in our Sacred Union on Saturday. We do forgiveness ceremonies where we meet each other as men and women and we ask forgiveness. We ask forgiveness for anything, say I as a woman, that I may have done to the masculine in order to keep separate in our patriarchal, matriarchal ages. And then I also ask, what do I need to forgive the masculine that the patriarchy has acted out? And the forgiveness is so deep that in Paris, in Poland, celestial cities of light anchored through that union and birth deep into the inner earth. So it's an amazing honor to do this work, to do it with Rama, because we have come through a lot in our 30 years together to be able to hold space for these workshops. And in our sacred sound ceremony, I sing the chakras with these mantras I was given. People choose from the flower essence codes and DNA codes and lay them on their bodies, and Rama didgeridoos them and sings as well. And in our Sacred Union and Sacred Intimacy, the 2-day events we're offering in Kempton, we work with the Yeshua and Magdalene codes around bringing through into our beings the full power of that Christ consciousness, which is divine love, so that we can then take that into ceremonies for the planet to anchor that through the grids as a service to Mother Earth. So our work is very much about personal and planetary service. I think that's it from me.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and by the way, we have 5 children between us. So
That's amazing.
Wow.
And 2 grandchildren. And there'll be several more on the way.
And we want to adopt you as our grandparents too, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Aaron loves us. I feel they could be our spiritual grandparents.
I also have been running children's groups for children and making essences for these new children to support them and the parents of how to be with the children. And just quickly, just to add that our other events in Kempton, I'll be running a women's group and Ram will be running a men's group, because of both of us for years have facilitated men's and women's groups. That really is it for me.
Okay. All right.
There seems to be a mirror between the feminine.
Yeah.
So my healing journey began actually in 1969 when I was commissioned by Spirit to work with the people of the earth. And the words were very clear, very, very clear. And they were, your path lies in medicine, and all you will need is what you have in your hands and your heart and your mind. And you'll be working with the people of the earth beyond any racial, political or technological boundary. You will be taking people into the light. And that was the original commission in 69. So it's, 50 years. I'm originally an osteopath. I'm a rebirth, a somatic psychotherapist, marriage counsellor, youth counsellor, and occasional dolphin because I love surfing at dawn. That's my primary spiritual practice, apart from being with my beloved. And within that, there've also been different commissions, and I was running groups like through the early 80s, and just around the time I met Kaliana, I was commissioned to begin really focusing on men's work. And so from that time, 30 odd years ago, I began working quite a lot with men, and very soon after that, I was commissioned to work also with teenage boys. And that work still continues, and we weave that work in with everything that we're doing. And the greatest joy of all that is being beside this woman, traveling with this woman around the planet where we're called and commissioned, and a big theme of our work is actually how to walk the spiritual path within everyday life, particularly within relationship, intimate sexual relationship, and with family, with children, all that that entails. And our own, when we met, Kaliana had 3 children. I had 1. We had 1 together. There's two grandchildren, beautiful granddaughters. There's more on the way. And so quite a large focus of it is how to bring the sacred into the everyday, how to bring it into the bedroom and into the bathroom and the kitchen, and to raise our children with the new education, the new teaching, so they can continue to remember who they are. And that's another very big part of our commission. So coming to Hobart, to Kempton, we're weaving in quite a few of those elements. A separate men's evening, a separate women's evening, another sound evening. And when we do Sacred Union, and we've done this around the planet, some of that is where we have the separate men's and women's groups. And Kaliana takes the women and I take the men. And when we come together, and that has been some of the most utterly profound work, and forgiveness is a large part of that, because it seems to be deeply connected. And something I do know is that when 2 human beings on this planet truly forgive each other, then that resonates through the galaxies all the way to source. And it's a very key component in opening our heart frequency and raising our frequency to pierce beyond the veil and beyond the matrix, so that we can travel with the passport of the pure and open heart. And the universe is ours. Right now, Earth is under quarantine. However, with focus, with intention, and with the pure and open heart, there are ways of accessing the highest of dimensions. And that's part of our work, is to assist people in those pathways. And the other part of that, and the other part of Sacred Union, which is multifold, is a much deeper connection to the earth and to the mother and to Mother Gaia. Much, much deeper. And a much, much deeper acknowledgement and recognition of how much she loves us. She loves all her creatures, but how much she loves and forgives humanity. And so that's the other part. The Sacred Union is primarily within the marriage of our inner masculine, inner feminine, in sacred union within the heart, and gifting that to the earth and opening to the higher dimensions, bringing those through as the earth moves from this third through the challenges of the lower fourth to the upper fourth, fifth, and beyond and beyond and beyond. And to do that in a very, very grounded and very practical way, in a sense. Yeah. Yeah.
We'll also be offering on Sunday at Kempton will be Sacred Intimacy, taking that more into sexuality. And it's a close-on workshop. It's not Tantra, other than the Tantra of the Twin Flames. But it's very much to look at what needs to be lifted so we can reclaim the innocence of our sexuality and that full chakra union within. So that's called Sacred Intimacy. And then on the Monday, we're offering a relationship blessing. We did this for the first time when we were facilitating in Perth. And we just offered an evening which was a blessing for your relationship, inner or outer. And so that's our program. But in what I found over the years of working with women, and I then was asked by Spirit to invite men into my women's group so they could understand their inner feminine. So that was amazing the first time that I did that. And the men who started turning up, because I didn't facilitate it any differently, which surprised me. But I was just sharing all the wisdom I'd learned from facilitating women's groups for years and offering that to the masculine so they could understand what was happening. And the first time I shared this, some men came up to me and they were so grateful. And the women said, "Oh, thank you so much for sharing this in the presence of my man so he could understand me." And the men were coming out, "So now I understand." what's been going on, but it's more in relationship, be it even if we're in a same-sex relationship, we're still mirroring back to each other that male-female energy that may not be merging. So we have in our workshops same-sex couples. We have, sometimes there's a couple and only one of them comes. Doesn't matter. Sometimes we have couples coming. We have singles who want to clear out some old garbage so that they can create a sacred relationship with more compassion. In the forgiveness ceremonies in Poland, they came back again and again and again, and we just said we didn't want it to be translated with our translators. We wanted them just to step forward and speak in their own language. And one of the women who spoke English said to me, "You don't understand how deep that was." And I said, "Yes, I do." Holding space, and energetically the men were weeping and the women were weeping, and they were able to express anger. They were able to express grief. And it just all lifted, because they were being witnessed by each other. And in a sense, when I step forward, if I'm in those forgiveness rituals, if I step forward to speak to the masculine, I'm actually speaking to my own inner masculine, but it's an amazing chance to verbalize it. We've had some women who were terrified. They'd been badly hurt by the masculine and terrified to speak, and the place was so safe, they were just set free because they'd been witnessed. They'd been actually able to speak to the masculine what they'd never spoken. And what comes up, we find, is that, you know, the patriarchy is more recent. But there were issues from matriarchy where the men felt disempowered. So it's really important for the women to hear what's been happening with the masculine in this division that we've all created. And we call it now holyarchy rather than matriarchy or patriarchy, because we're moving into the wholeness.
Yeah.
From our wholeness and our union, birth heaven on earth. That's what Christ consciousness, it's the angelic, the human merging together. And we can't do that if we haven't come to peace between our own masculine and feminine energy. And if we haven't, it will be mirrored back to us from our relationships.
Yep.
And the holy part of holyarchy is the recognition of the divinity in each of us and the unique and precious quality of that. And that is the core of any human relationship, to actually mirror, to embody, to mirror and reflect that divinity, regardless of what the personality is doing, the emotions are doing, the physical body is doing, the mental body, the thoughts, because they are not who we are. We are eternal beings of love and light. We are multidimensional beings. It's just that we're just focused right now, a lot of the time, in this dimension, in the earth. But the truth is, we're much, much greater than that. And recognizing that in each other and reflecting that. So we offer people in relationship very specific tools to enhance their relationship and, you know, forgiveness. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I love you. And where people get lost, and sometimes as a relationship counselor, I'm sometimes saddened when I see there is great love between a couple, great love, and great ancient history, great soul connection. But perhaps the wounds of the child this lifetime and beyond are getting in the way so much that they've forgotten and they can't move beyond. And they need some assistance with that, to remember the original soul contract they brought through to be together.
Because sometimes what happens is that when we have a lot of old stories and we move into a relationship, so there's that first phase of relationship, which is the eros, the love. You're just seeing, just that whole eros erotic connection, and then
all the boundaries dissolve,
and then you feel safer, and you start bringing in. It's almost like, will you still love me if I show you this part of myself?
Yeah.
But often what happens is we've got this big sack of old stories, and often we put it in front and we see that person through the mirror of the old stories rather than who they are. And so what we offer in our workshops is a chance to bring into consciousness those old stories, release the old thought forms, so that we actually can see each other with the eyes of love as who we really are, not through the projection
and filter
of all our old stories, which need to be dissolved because we're not seeing the person. We've ceased to see that person. And so it's to remember what brought us together. And often we come together, sometimes it's old karmic issues that we need to resolve with each other. And that can be resolved through working with the law of karma. We work with the universal laws and call them in. We work with the angelics, ascended beings, but we mostly work with trying to support people to come from their own divine presences and see each other through that place. Bring that energy in to dissolve the old stories rather than bringing the old stories in to keep you separate and bound to the old stories. And we do transmit, so we will sit in meditation and transmit, but we also bring in dance and movement. So we do a whole combination. It's a very experiential.
And sound and song is a very, very, very important part of our work, because sound, in my experience, is the fastest translation of light into the physical and can cut through so much that's gotten in the way.
So we teach people how to sing the chakra flows, because if the heart is opening, the sacral is opening, but the solar plexus is shut down because we've had old issues around power. In patriarchal, matriarchal, we took on a belief, an archetypal one, that there could only be one energy empowered at the one time. We go into a seesaw. So when the masculine starts to get strong, the feminine goes, oh no, does that mean I'm going to go zoop? And when the feminine gets strong, the same.
Yeah.
So we do a lot of clearing of those ancient thought forms so that we can see that holiarchy is equally empowered, side by side, offering our gifts together, both empowered, not power over. And so we teach those flows to open up the flow between the heart, the solar plexus, and the sacral. So they're the flows of sacred sexuality.
And this is very much the time now of the restoration of the sacred sisterhood and the restoration of the sacred brotherhood. And so I would say to all my brothers out there, that we need to learn to trust ourselves with the right use of our power, with our open hearts. We need to trust each other. We need to let go of all the old wounds, all of the old wounds. The time is now. So we can stand back to back, side by side, in the sacred circle of the ancient brotherhood for ourselves, our brothers, our sisters, our children, and for Mother Earth. We need to stand as guardians of the sacred portal of this earth. We need to dissolve the matrix. We need to pierce the veil. We need to be the warriors of light that we were born to be and commissioned to be this lifetime. Yeah. And there is so much assistance from the higher realms for this. And that's like the great joy of meeting with my brothers. I'm running a men's retreat here this coming weekend before Hobart, and at a very, very powerful site. And the sheer joy with the men as they go into, yes, acknowledging their strengths, but also their vulnerability and their power and their joy, releasing the old pain, letting go of the old karma, the forgiveness, meeting each other in really deep trust, and remembering what is our commission. What is the soul contract that I signed up for before coming to this beautiful and strange planet? And getting, if we're not on our path, then absolutely coming onto it. What is my soul mission? What is my soul contract? I may already be on it. I want to help the men expand that. Some of the men, a couple who are coming this weekend, work in corporate, and they're teaching other staff members some very high level spiritual skills in their own language. You know, people are stationed around the planet, And there are many, 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 many ways to serve, many, many. But with the brothers, it's coming together and strengthening our network, standing side by side and back to back.
And my work, I was commissioned many, many years ago by the Divine Mother after a trip to Uluru, actually, with Aboriginal women, and which was to heal the splits in the feminine between the dark and the light, our spirituality, our sexuality. And so I facilitated women's groups for many, many years. And for me, the passion behind that is to support women to honour the initiations that we go through in our daily life. We're not in the temples as such. We're in this temple. And so there's amazing gifts that we can honour ourselves when we have come through an initiation. But unfortunately, often we bumble through our initiations. We, number one, don't celebrate that we've come through them. We're looking at the next phase of life. Yeah. And I remember having a very strong dream, and I was in a supermarket with a yellow towel around me, and I was pushing a trolley through the supermarket, and walking towards me was these amazing beings in these gold cloaks. And I said to them, I want one of those. And they said, they pointed to my towel. And they said, you've got one. You're initiating through the supermarkets of life.
Wow.
And my passion with women is to support them, to honour the initiations they've come through. But also, when I was asked to run women's groups in the Women's Initiation Valley after a trip to Uluru, the Divine Mother came, and these women were coming to me, and I found myself, I was almost like putting headdresses on them energetically. And she said to me, I'm gathering my priestesses again. And you're one of the ones I'm gathering them through. And so I sing a song to women, it's called It's Safe to Be a Priestess, because for women, what needs to happen is for the feminine to know that they are safe, to open up and to share their gifts, because in the patriarchy, without that feminine wisdom, we lost the nurture for the earth. And women have been in their passive energy, their lunar, but the Magdalene codes I've done are called the Magdalene codes of the solar Christed feminine, because the feminine coming through now is coming through the flames of the Magdalene, which is fiery. It's the solar power. So it's about women merging. It's like we had the Amazon woman, you know, which was that strong woman cut off from her emotions. We had the passive lunar feminine. When they merge together, we have the woman for now. So she's drawing on that lunar energy and the solar energy to share her gifts with the earth. And when men are in their sacred energy, they protect us so that we not have to keep looking behind us to guard our back. We can just feel truly safe, fully held by the ancient father circles. And each woman is assigned 6 avatars, blue flame 12-strand avatars from the sacred masculine, to guard her back while she just opens up and shares her gifts. And when I connected to that, running women's groups to connect them to the ancient fathers, I travelled. I was sent to Korea. I was sent to Northern Ireland in times of war, and I was so safe. And I would just land in those places and say, ancient fathers, protect me while I do my earth work. And I was so protected. And so I support women to see that it is safe, to break the contracts that have closed down their throat chakras, to speaking the truth because of fear, to void those ancient contracts so that they start speaking of the sacred feminine wisdom that we hold in our lineage as the priestesses of the Divine Mother if we're in a woman's body this lifetime. And we can do that fully supported by our inner masculine and the outer masculine. So that's my work with women, to support them to see that they're the most amazing priestesses. And I've had men in my women's groups, and I've sung to them about the priestess within them, in their feminine. They have a priestess, the same as we have a priest in our masculine energy, and they're sacred. And so I love supporting women. In Oslo, young woman in our sacred union, when we went into the separate men's and women's groups, was just starting to run women's groups. And she said to me, can I use some of these things? And I said, of course, because you reach women I can't reach. And so for me, it's a legacy that I've been running women's groups for 30 years nearly, and just to be able to share some of that to the young women who are starting to run women's groups now, or sacred union groups. We share what we've learned because it's a legacy that we've been gifted, that we want to give to support other people's work. And often, sometimes in Paris particularly, there was a couple and they were so inspired by us working together. Now they were going, oh, you mean we could do this together? A couple in Poland decided they were going to open a whole retreat center after doing our sacred union, doing the forgiveness with each other. So we want to inspire all the people who have puzzle pieces for heaven on earth. We're the heaven on earth mission, and we want to honour, and I see it in both of you. And I know you're already working together. Just to re-inspire you too, and just to also say, yes, here's another beautiful couple doing this work.
Yeah.
How awesome is that? You know, it's so beautiful to meet the heaven on earth mission.
Family.
Family.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow.
And for me, traveling the world, part of my commission as well has been gathering the priests, the elders, the healers, the shamans. And quite often in each of these cities, there's been one man who said, I will start running men's groups here. And I said, absolutely, it's time, you're ready. And I'll support you in whatever way I can to do that. So that's part of that seeding is happening as well. And something else I'd love to share with you. We were in Montana, USA, about 3 or so years ago. And looking at the Southern Hemisphere and Australia from the northern, and I'm a seer, I see very much. And I saw Australia from the other side of the world. And what I saw was the chakra system of Australia. Uluru, obviously the heart. The base centre up the territory, Gulf of Carpentaria. And I kept scanning and I saw that Tasmania holds the crown centre. And I asked, whereabouts in Tasmania? And they said really clearly, Cradle Mountain. So that's acknowledging the sacredness of this amazing land, but also the new teachings that are emerging from Australia, and for us to own that. And I can say that from having travelled the world, met with other cultures, Indigenous, etc., to know that there is something fresh and unique and deeply heart-based that is actually coming from Australia. And we need to honour that, what we have here and what we're bringing through.
And I've had the honour to be out at Uluru Sacred Women's Dance, dancing with Aboriginal elders and showing them my codes and having them blessed. And I remember showing my Magnum codes to a beautiful auntie, and I said, you know, I just want to show you then. I said, this is from the Pleiades coming into the heart chakra. And she said, I know that. And I said, I know you know that. Will you bless them? And recently, and she did. And one of the Aboriginal women, my name was Kaliana then, and I'd been asked to add an A because Kaliana's work was done and Kaliana's work was starting. And this lovely Aboriginal woman said to me, I want to name my granddaughter after you. How do you spell your name? Kaliana. So she named her Kaliana. And I just felt like that mantle was passed over to that young girl as I became Kaliana, because my portal where I came through the star systems of the Pleiades was Uluru. So I often go back there and I give my bodies of work to Uluru, to that sacred heart center of Australia and solar plexus of the world, and say, recommission me. And I get recommissioned. And one of the commissions I got there was to sing. So I travel the world singing, because when I walk the earth, I sometimes hear ancient songs, because a lot of the Indigenous people can't get to those places anymore. And so I walk the earth and I hear the songs and I sing them back. And when I was in New Zealand working with the Maori people, walking the land, singing the songs with a lovely Maori man on his land in King's Country. And he said, sing the songs. And I sang the songs I was receiving in the light language, which they told me were ancient ori oris, or lullabies to the children. And he would sing with me, and because he hadn't been shut down, his grandmother had taught him. And what I learned then was how much the earth misses being sung. Because all Indigenous peoples would sing the earth as a living, beautiful being in gratitude and helping her stay activated. And so the songs I sing, I have 2 CDs, the songs I've heard as I've walked the earth. Some I've heard when I've been out swimming with the whales and they've given me songs. And so I love to support people to sing, because their own vibration, all my mantras that I received are very easy to sing, and people can sing themselves. If they're stuck somewhere, they can sing the chakras or the flows between them to release the thought forms. So that's what we do in our Sacred Sound Healing Evening, sing those songs so people can be supported to shift those old thought forms or old energies from their chakras, so the truth of that chakra as it was originally formed as a chakra of light can start activating again.
So for the sacred sound healing, all you need to do is lie down and receive. It's deeply nurturing. And I just like to talk a little bit, for example, with the sacred sound, is we use sound and then we go into transmission. Some people might call it channeling. And that is also truly a treasure when we do it individually or together, when we open up to the higher dimensions and members of our team come through, in order to amplify the frequencies of the heart and bring through a particular theme, a particular message, a particular blessing. And that is always different. Different members come through. Part of the ascended realms or the angelic realms come through us. And that's also our gifting as well. So,
and that's different because every group comes for reasons. So whoever is drawn to any of our events, there's always a reason, as you'd know in facilitating groups. Like often a circle comes together because they're all representing a puzzle piece of a whole, like a spokes of a wheel. And so whoever comes, we just ask, what is the message that this particular group needs to hear? And open up to working with their presences to bring through a message for them or a blessing for them. And it's not all just about being serious either. Like if we can, although we are teachers of the Sirius Library of the Divine University.
And Sirius is the home of the whales and dolphins. I've got a particular connection to Sirius, a very, very deep connection. Yes, I know. And the whales and dolphins are, in a sense, the ambassadors of Sirius. They're a gift to us. And right now, at Byron Bay, we've got the humpbacks are migrating past us now. But the gifts of Sirius and the whale and dolphin kingdom is wisdom, is joy, high intelligence, and a template for how to live in harmony. And we could expand on that quite a bit.
We also work with, it came through really strongly when we were facilitating in Calgary in Canada, which is, if it happens in the Sacred Union groups, is to bring through information from the Book of Love.
Yes.
Which comes from the Christ planes of union. So sometimes we bring through a blessing or a dispensation from the books of love, which is a really honor to do. And my lineage, my soul lineage is more Andromedan and Pleiadian, and I had to, at different phases in my life, embody those parts of my higher self energies. And Andromeda is a master race of healers. They work through the prana in the air. So they come in offering beautiful dispensations to raise the prana. The Pleiadian is the Pleiadian emissaries of light, and they come through the heart energies and through singing. And so we bring in many lineages because, to me, I learned over the years when this first started happening for me that it's not about being out of your body. All of us, every single human being has in our DNA strands that were gifted from different star systems. And so if we deny that, we're denying who we are as a whole multidimensional being. So it's not about being out of the body and, not really being grounded. What it's about now is grounding our star lineages with all the gifts that they bring, all the soul families, to anchor that and help the earth as she's becoming a star. And so it's about really owning our lineages. And it's a beautiful thing to honor our lineages, because then that whole soul family can move through us as the representative that's embodied for a whole soul family, bring through amazing gifts from different star systems. So it truly is not just about being, a friend of mine calls it not being woo-woo. But to me, I'm a double Virgo in this body, is a double Virgo. And it's about being grounded and grounding those energies and offering them in service to Mother Earth.
And as we embody more and more of our presence in the body, we actually become more and more and more grounded as more parts of our soul braids, our higher selves, in many galaxies, braid And as we come together more and more in our full presence on earth, that's where our power lies. The love, the light, and the power to flow through us in our soul mission. So our work is about more embodiment, deeper embodiment, super consciousness brought in through the lineages and anchored here through the heart as a gift to the earth and a gift to all life and humanity.
And I'd like to just sing, I sing a song just in the simple mantras, and what it is, what I'm singing is that we have our heart chakra, and the gland of that is the heart gland. We have the high heart chakra, the thymus, which is the seat of the twin flame union. And sometimes we need to weave the energy from the heart to the high heart. So this song of the heart is Ayo. Atana A is the opening up the bridge, and Ila A Me is the song of the high heart chakra. So I just like to sing that and weave that. So I sing it 3 times to the heart to sing the heart chakra to its truth and honor its truth. Atana A to open up the bridge between the heart and the high heart, and Ila A Me to then really activate that flame in the high heart in a temple. So I call on my family, the dolphins and whales, the angelics, my presence who gave me these songs, to sing to you through me and through us, as we ask that the heart chakra come back to the truth of its essence. The bridge opens up to the high heart chakra thymus, and it comes back to its truth of essence, and those flow so that we have that connection between our heart temple and our high heart temple, the seat of the twin flame union. Ayo, 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 atana, illa, me, illa, ayo,
Ayo,
atana,
atana,
illa,
me,
illa,
me,
ayo,
ayo.
Blessed be the heart chakra. A beautiful, I sat once with one of the founders of Findhorn, and she said that whenever she asks the Devas a question, they say the same thing. If only humanity would walk on the earth with an open heart, we would have peace on earth. And so a lot of our work is to bring that energy back to the heart chakra and send that energy through our body, through the 22 petals of the heart, and to send that energy to our masculine and feminine pillars so that they can know that it's safe to merge together again in true forgiveness, because forgiveness is only needed on this level, really. In the eyes of spirit, there's nothing to forgive. But because we're embodied, we need to do these forgiveness rituals between our masculine and feminine so that we can just release the old stories. And in Sacred Union, it's an amazing thing. We had a beautiful woman who was a same-sex relationship, beautiful lady, and she had a lot of anger around men. And she said, I'm not going to do these ceremonies. I don't want to do them. And we said, that's fine. You just sit there. But then when all of a sudden the men started stepping forward and sharing, some of them were weeping, and her whole heart opened. She stood up and did the ceremonies, and she dropped all her stories. And so I just find that it's an amazing thing to witness each other, what we've done to keep separate, and to own that and ask forgiveness and be forgiven on this level, because that's where it happened. It happened on earth. And often a lot of what created patriarchy, matriarchy was from galactic wars that acted out on earth. So sometimes they have galactic origins that need to be lifted, and the Magdalene and Yeshua codes support that, because and the DNA codes are galactic incarnational patterns. So they're helping our soul release if we brought anything from other planets that need to be resolved. And celestial angels come in and they offer courts of forgiveness. And they'll call everybody who was ever involved in past incarnations that we're still carrying old stories from, and they offer them courts of forgiveness where they can be witnessed. And the celestials call in everyone involved in that lifetime to resolve it together, because there's no victims. If I create something, even if it's deep abuse, which I've had to work through in my lifetime,
and me,
I created that as a soul to learn and understand and have compassion. And so sometimes we create things that we may judge as bad stories, but we support people to see, what did you learn from that on a soul level? When you claim the learning, you're set free.
Because that's where the power lies.
Because you're claiming that I created this on a soul level to learn something. What was it? Was it learning compassion for something I judged in another lifetime? Or
Was
not
it learning
understood?
empathy?
So the deepest healing is to honor that we are co-creators, and we've created everything to learn and evolve, but sometimes the inner child doesn't know that bigger picture, so we work with inner child healing as well, so that that inner child can be lifted into the heart. And sometimes the inner child shuts down on her gifts or his gifts because of things that may happen. And so when the inner child is lifted into the heart, all of a sudden you've got this beautiful little being with all their gifts and excitement and joy wanting to express through you in your adult life. So we work with inner child work as well as soul healing. And we're still learning. We wouldn't be embodied if we weren't. We don't say we know all the answers, but we can offer back what we've learned. And we find that in all our groups, we are gifted by whoever comes with their gifts. So we're on a journey too. We're still evolving. But the more we can pass over the legacy of what we've learned, the more we open up to new things coming in for us as well.
Beautiful.
Totally.
Wow, there's so much you've said, and I'm sure we could respond.
There were so many times we'll go like, oh, because it feels like there's a mirror thing going on. In terms of like your story, in terms of our journey,
and conversations,
our relationship, where we're going, what we're doing. It's just whoa.
So thank you so much. I had a question that I'm sure that there are some people who are listening to this who, the concepts of past lives and divine union and Pleiadians and all of that is really familiar, and that they're like, yep, I'm really interested. And then for those that this might be a really new conversation for. So is this, is your work, suitable for, is it a matter of people trusting that if they feel that there's something entrusting in that and trusting coming, that it's okay, they don't have to feel like they understand it all, and it's okay to be a fresh newbie?
Yeah, it's much, much more important to listen to the call of your heart. If you resonate with anything that we've said or anything you see, it's trusting the integrity, the discrimination and the wisdom of your heart.
Yeah.
That's all that's really needed. In its essence, it's actually very, very simple. And it's about purifying the heart, illuminating the mind, becoming much more grounded and expressing that in all our relationships, but primarily our relationship with ourselves.
And we've had people come who've never done any spiritual work at all.
Beautiful.
Have people come who are teachers and very advanced in their spiritual path. Doesn't matter, because people take out of it what they're ready to take, and we never judge anybody. We never judge anything that comes into our circles. We keep confidentiality.
Safety is paramount.
And our main purpose is to provide a very safe and sacred space for anybody who comes, so that they're accepted exactly where they're at. We don't force anybody to embrace anything. We don't try and all of a sudden say, demanding that people all of a sudden start, connecting to aliens. But we do support and own that is in our being. It's not something out of our body. It's something that's in our DNA, and it has amazing soul gifts. We had in Poland when, after the deep forgiveness, and all of a sudden I was shown this celestial city of light wanting to anchor, and that all the people in that workshop had a soul contract to sing it through. And I spoke to them through our translator. And these beautiful people, there was about 20 of them, all started to sing in the language of light. They'd never, ever spoken before, because their soul had that knowing, and they all sang through this celestial city of light to anchor in Warsaw. And so, anything can happen, but we don't demand anything of anybody other than that they be there and that they bring into whatever it is that they want to resolve and heal. We do a meditation at the beginning always to support, what do you bring? What do you need help with? And everyone has a different thing that they want to bring, but as soon as they name that, the whole workshop will respond to them.
And all is welcome in the circle. And
Yes.
there isn't much that we haven't heard of human experience.
All gone through ourselves.
All gone through ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's very much, it's very much my path, is to learn through experience. So that's the journey of my soul, is that one. And of course, I'm still learning. So the level of safety and permission that we offer, I think, is probably the biggest gift that we can offer. Yeah.
And so there's a beautiful song, and it says, so to anybody who's listening who is pulsed or touched by what we shared to come to any of our events, is a beautiful song that says, come, come, whoever you are. No matter how many times you've broken your vows, come, come, come again, you're most welcome. And we'd be really honoured if anyone chooses to come into any of our events. We're offering quite a few, so we're offering evenings for $30. We're offering our workshops in Kempton at a reasonable rate so that it doesn't prevent. We have payment plans, and beautiful Melanie is offering a really, really amazing, very low rate to stay at the church if you're wanting to do both one days as a weekend, or just come on the Saturday evening to do the Sunday, or come on the Friday night to do the Saturday. So,
but there are only 5 rooms, so
yes.
You need to book in fast.
And so Melanie's trying to make it as easy as possible.
Yeah. And for us as well, we'd like to make it as easy as possible financially on any level.
Yeah.
For people to receive our work. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Do you have any?
We're about out of time, but
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But that's all right. I can wait till you hear.
Well, we will.
You can also put the questions on the Facebook page, and we'll respond to them.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we did talk, and we didn't actually leave you much time to ask us questions, so we apologise for that.
That's all right. We'll so we'll put all the details of the events and point people in the direction of your page also, so they can get it.
Awesome. And thank you both so much.
Yeah, thank you for your generosity.
Yeah.
Welcome.
My pleasure.
I love
it. Yeah, it was that. But puppy dogs.
And we look forward to having a 4-person hug when we actually meet you in Hobart.
Yeah.
You're awesome.
I know.
Oh, and we also do offer private sessions. We offer them individually, or we offer them as a couple, where we work with a couple as a couple, or even as with one person representing that male-female energy. So that is available too.
Excellent.
While we're in Hobart.
Thank you.
Cool. Thank
See you soon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
All right.
Bye.
Namaste.
Bye.
Namaste.